Hello everyone, going to recap on the 12k service on the Tiger Sport 1050. I'll cover the cost and I'll put that on a slide in the video, and I'm also going to introduce you to a chap called Phil Hart who's been commenting through the whole set of videos, and we're going to give you Phil's Tiger tips. I did this series in about 6 parts, and if I was to do it again, would I change the order that I did it in? And the answer is yes, I would. I'd start with oil and filter change, because that's fairly straightforward, easy, and it's nice to actually get something done. And you can tick a box off, done the oil and filter change. The second part I would do would be the rear of the bike. So disassembling and re-greasing all of this. That would be number 2. And checking the brake caliper while everything's apart, but not bleeding the brakes yet. So then I would reassemble this. Then I would move on to the front forks, and I would do the forks and the headstock bearings. And again, because you've got to take the calipers off, I would do a check on the brake calipers, check the pads, replace them if necessary, not bleed the brakes at this point. Next part I'll do would be the air filter, spark plugs, throttle balance. That requires you to take all of this off. Needs your fairings off, your tank off, to get at that bit. While that's off, I would also do the coolant, because it gives you easy access to the top of the radiator and the reservoir, which is down here. So it makes that job a lot easier with everything off. Then when all of that's put back together, I would then do bleeding the brakes. So that's the order I would do it in. We're going for Phil's Tiger tip number 1, measuring your oil. Here is the oil cap, and it is quite fiddly even if you're not holding the camera. The manual says unscrew this, wipe it, screw it back in, all the way in, unscrew it again, check your oil. So Phil's Tiger tip number 1. If you measure the thread on here, you won't be able to see that, but it's 12 millimeters. So from here to here is 12 millimeters. So your oil from the low oil mark, if you look where 12 millimeters is, it's actually the very bottom. So all you need to do is fill your oil up until it touches the very bottom, and then you don't have to screw and unscrew this to get your oil between those two levels. Tiger tip number 1. When we did the coolant, I struggled to get the pipe off the water pump. That's this one. So Phil's Tiger tip number 2, WD-40 and a screwdriver to gently pry that loose, and then with a bit of wiggling it will come off. These are tougher than you think, and you do clamp it on with one of these clips, so even if it stretches a tiny bit round here, it's going to be fine. So that was Phil's Tiger tip number 2, WD-40, a large screwdriver to loosen that. So another comment was from the Count Rigs on the same subject. Another way to get this off is to prise a little gap with a screwdriver and use your air hose. If you've got a compressor, which I have, the air pressure makes this expand and releases the grip around the pipe and just helps you wiggle it off. So thanks to the Count Rigs for that one. My favourite of Phil's Tiger tips, absolute gem this one, the rear caliper on this bike. It's a really poor design. This is the caliper here, and it's at the bottom of the wheel where it's going to catch all the crud and dirt and get in there. So you do need to actually service that quite frequently. And if you've tried to get this on and off with the wheel on, that's a pain in the bum. It's really difficult, and you need very short sockets to get the top nut. So most people will take the wheel off, which again isn't a big deal, but it's hassle because you've got to get the bike up in the air. And if you just want to quickly get your caliper, have a quick check of the pads and clean it a bit. That's a lot of work. Because this is single-sided swing arm, you can take your sprocket off. Just loosen the pinch bolt, push your wheel forward so you've got a bit of slack. Take the sprocket off, and then you've got easy access to the caliper. Another Phil's Tiger tip: remember the trouble I had getting the leftmost spark plug out. So you can buy extension bars or whatever, but a set of box spanners, you can put a box spanner in that fits the spark plug, and then you can put another box spanner into that one and then use a ratchet on the top of that. Again, a really good idea. Box spanners are dirt cheap. You're not going to do that very often, so you don't need to spend a lot of money on them, and that works. So another great idea. So dealer is going to charge you around £800–900 for this job. That's excluding if they have to do anything with your valve clearances. So if your valve clearances, I didn't do that myself because I'm not confident. I'll get someone to do that sometime. But if they have to do the valve clearances, rest assured that will put the price up, because that's quite a big job. If they just check the gaps and the fine, then it's probably not too bad. If they have to actually replace the shims, that's going to be expensive. Bearing in mind that's about £800–900, how much did I spend? And I'm including the specific tools I had to buy to do this. The bill was £312.41 for all of the materials, the liquids, the greases, the grease gun I put on, the special C-spanners, the special socket for the stem nut, all the things I didn't have around me. That's what that came to. I also, because I was doing this, bought the ABBA stand, the ABBA Skylift, so I could get front and back up off the ground. That cost £420, something like that. So even if you add that on, it's still cheaper than the Triumph dealer. Obviously, Triumph doing it keeps you warranty if it's up to date in spec, but I don't think anyone or many people who've got a Tiger Sport will be under manufacturer's warranty anymore. So that's that. That was the end of that series. I hope you find it useful. As I do more spannering, I will record it. I think it's useful because I like seeing how things are done, and if I'm trying something, then I like to share it. But if you found this useful in this series, please give it a thumbs up. Think about subscribing, and I'd love to see you again in another video. So that's Gordon from North Biker and Phil's Tiger Tips saying, see you later.